then we'll give you the okay to record. Taylor, is the Zoom good too?
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Right, you can,
good to go.
You can hit them to record. So. All right, you're rolling.
All right. Welcome to the Blatant Disregard Podcast. I'm your host, DC. We have a very special show today. We're going to talk about some business, and who better to do that with than our very own business consultant. This is family here. He's someone who's actually given me great advice on venturing off into my own business endeavors. And without any further ado, let me introduce him. Sir, actually introduce yourself for the people.
Okay, well, cool. I am Ciolus Rains. I am a business consultant. I invest in real estate. I invest in stock options, Forex, you name it. But for the past 20 years, has been basically helping those who are in need of strategic planning, business development, and overall investing strategies. Exactly what I've been doing.
Okay. And you said you've been doing it for how many years?
About 20.
About 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So that's a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences that you've gained over the years.
Absolutely.
And you've given me quite some very, very important information that, I want to share with my listeners out there, because a lot of people are interested in maybe starting their own business or becoming involved in some way, but they just either don't have the motivation, the drive, or just the information that's needed to kind of, propel themselves. So I think today, we can touch on quite a few things, expand on certain things that people may have heard maybe on other platforms, other podcasts, but a lot of times they don't give you the steps that you need. They're kind of a very vague description of getting started in business. But what I want to do is, and what I want you to help me do, is kind of give more information to the people that will help them kind of navigate their way getting in business. So I guess, first and foremost, I think the question a lot of people need to ask themselves is, why do we need a business?
First of all, having a business is golden right now.
Right.
And this whole COVID season, I think we all notice who is getting more of the benefits than any other person, entity out here. Is definitely the company. Those who created an LLC, a corporation, partnership, they're getting more funding than the person. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, that's a very good reason, a valid reason to make sure that you structure yourself, structure your life, structure your family in such a way where you can benefit the most from the government. If they're going to give you, in effect, a handout, then you might want to be in position to receive the handout. Mm-hmm. There's been grants that's been given ever since the existence of our United States, and yet most people do not obtain a grant because they don't want to go through the hassle. They don't want to go through the strings of creating a proposal, providing a statement of some sort to try to appeal to whoever's offering the grant. Well, the government just said, hey, you got a company, you can get a grant.
Right.
It made it even more easier. It's literally 2 pages of application. It's so simple now. But as far as a business is concerned, you need to develop a good plan of attack before you set up a business. But I say the purpose of a business is to put you in position to receive rewards for a service or a product. And if that is something that you're interested in, I think you should jump on it. But I would go a step further nowadays and say, because of COVID, everyone should have a business. Whether you have a side hustle, if you want to call it that, or a hobby, you should have an entity that you work out of, because one of the things I teach my clients is having the corporate mindset, becoming a corporate citizen. And that's a person who don't follow the norms of having a mortgage in your name or having a car in your name just because everyone else is doing it. No, you seek the advice of those who have a little bit more of a understanding of why you can get business credit, personal credit, why the two can come together and really create a good, strong cash flow for you using credit, right? That all stems from the business. Otherwise, you're just using your own credit, and you're kind of limited with the cap that a company like, Capital One will put on you just because of your income level. Whereas a business, they don't see black or white. They see numbers. They see the potential And that's most important. When they can see the potential in you and give you business credit based on that potential, then you can move a lot further. You can go a lot longer than, I would say, if you wanted to buy one home ever in your life, you're good. If you wanted to buy 10 homes in your life, you need a business, right? I think that should be a good enough example for separating the two. A business entity is just so invaluable. There's so many things we can talk about to go into detail further with it. I would say you need a business in order to operate your home. You need a business, then a trust to operate your home. And the reason for that is because you don't want the government to come in and ultimately take what's yours. All right. You want to be able to travel and do what you want to do without the bringing the pain home, if you will. Being able to structure your life in such a way where you can say, hey, I got some bills that's due, but I'm gonna go to Florida and I'm gonna go and do what I do. When I come back, I'm gonna deal with those bills. That's a problem. When you work out of a business, you can go take that trip.
Right.
It can be a business trip. You can come back. There is no coming back to a pain. You're coming back to more of a business income.
Right.
Because you set it up in such a way. There's a process to it all. And it's not as complicated as people might think.
Right. You don't limit yourself to the things that you want to do personally, because, when you set yourself up with some sort of business, then you can say, hey, I want to take this trip to Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, and don't have to say, oh, let me plan this out 3 months in ahead because I want to make sure all my bills are paid. It's like, no, I can just get up and go because while I'm there, I'm still going to be making money in some form or fashion.
Absolutely. You can have a conversation with your partner and we can talk about business for all of 30 minutes. And legally, you now talked about business. You can write that off. Again, because of COVID, we're now able to write off a lot more in entertainment and food. So they did away with that a number of years ago, and now I think we're able to write off close to 100% now, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. Tax deductions, tax credits, like you said, the benefits of having a business entity opposed to just filing for your personal self. And now you mentioned using business for having a conversation with your partner, for traveling. Now, is that legal to do certain things like that out of your business?
Absolutely.
Are there any repercussions to that, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes and yes. But basically, there's a way to do anything. So I like working out of a C Corp. I have LLCs as well, but my C Corp is my main company.
Gotcha.
And I've structured it in such a way because I don't have like another person a part of it. I can make my spouse a director. That person can play a much stronger role, of course, but because it's in my bylaws, because it's in one of the resolutions I created to have a conversation with my secretary, with my director, whatever, we can write off that conversation. We can write off that event or whatever is going on throughout that reasoning for creating the resolution in the first place. All right, so that makes it legal. What most people don't understand is you can't do that personally. And since you can't do that personally, who has the most power in this country? It's the entity.
Right.
We living and working every day, going to that job, paying taxes, that money ultimately funnels up to the government, goes wherever it goes. But if it ever comes back, it's going to come back to another business. It's not going to come back to the person. We're now, in 2021, just experiencing a time where the government said, well, we're going to give you something. Yeah, when has that ever happened? Outside of getting scraps from, now you don't have no job, no income, and you need a little bit of something. They'll give you something just to hold you over till you find that next job. But not like this, not where they're actually giving you a few $1,000s and saying, I don't care what you do with it. They really just say, go live. Could it be more? Yes, but at the same time, they're doing more than they ever done. So it's a step up, I guess. But the company, in effect, can write off a whole lot in the process before they pay taxes, before they can really consider other options of debt. They pay themselves, they pay the expenses that they use, and if it just so happened that those expenses are your home, part of your home, the car that you drove in, the child care, you can literally write that off because whatever the company sets up and says in a resolution that it will do, it can then do it legally. That's what makes it legal. That's the difference.
Yeah.
You know?
So
that's crazy.
That's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. And then ultimately down the line, we can set up some sort of platform where people can ask these important questions and how to go about doing that. Right now, we can speak on it and kind of just put it out there so people can be aware of it.
Right.
But ultimately, eventually we're gonna, like I said, create some sort of space where people can figure out, okay, you told me about this, but how do I go about doing it? And then we can kind of teach you step by step how to do it. Yeah. So, okay. So we had a little conversation outside of here about turning one income stream into multiple income streams. Could you explain that to the people, how they could potentially go about doing that and the importance of that as well?
Well, let me back that up a little bit because I want to make sure we clarify what an income stream is versus a revenue stream.
Okay.
All right. When you're working out of a business, there are multiple revenue streams within that one business. So it wouldn't be considered an income stream that you just got multiple of. No, you really got one company, you have a product or service, but you developed multiple ways to receive income. So you have multiple revenue streams coming into that one entity that will then provide an income stream for you, ultimately. But if you create multiple businesses that all do different things, now you got different income streams that can, in effect, balance itself out. Should one fall to the wayside, something happen, COVID, and one has to be put on pause for a little bit, and the other ones are thriving and whatnot. So now you got multiple income streams to kind of save you from any catastrophe. So that's pretty cool. Now, as far as multiple income streams, we really need to talk about how you develop multiple income streams, because it kind of starts with the game plan, putting an actual plan in place to facilitate buying and selling of whatever product or service you're doing, whether you're creating a wholesale division to go after discounted product, or like me, I also do construction, property, project management. I do a number of different areas there where I have to go out and facilitate to different retail providers, carpet, windows, roofing, and I'm always looking for a discount. If you see a opportunity for you to close that gap, close the margin, right? And this is why having a proper plan in place is so key. You got to be able to say, hey, I'm gonna take my business and I'm gonna jump up just 5%. And when I jump up 5%, I'm gonna be able to bring home an extra $1,000. All right. Again, this is a company who already has the plan, who's already made it past the first 2-3 quarters, and they're making a consistent amount of money. But before you get to multiple income streams, you have to first develop that idea of how you're going to jump from this one to that one. All right. And the reason I'm even saying it like that is because it takes a lot for you to get this first one going. And now you're telling me you're going to go develop another one. Something's going to fall by the wayside. Something's going to get caught up unless you have the plan already intact and you can easily see yourself outside of that role that was bringing in that money. And now you can go work this other plan. I mean, we just literally had Bezos. He stepped down from Amazon.
Right.
Well, he didn't step down until he knew that the company was clear. He met his objectives, number one. Everything that he planned on doing, he made sure it got done before he said, I'm cool. We can go on to another avenue, another venture to try to get that going as well. Now, truth be told, he did set up a number of different businesses to get him started, but now he's about to put a lot more attention towards them, and that makes all the difference.
Okay. So basically, it's some sort of recurring revenue, transaction-based revenue, project revenue, or service revenue. Those are examples of revenue streams as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Within one particular business.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's the process of moving from, because a lot of times we say we want to start a business and we ultimately set up our LLC or our S corp or whatever the case may be, and we find ourselves limited time wise because we've put so much into the business, we don't have any personal time. But then we say, you know what, I want to set it up where I have someone else running this entire business, and I'm kind of sort of the facilitator, so to speak. What is the process for moving from a business operator to just primarily just a business owner?
It's a lot. And a lot of entrepreneurs never make it to business owner.
Okay.
They think they just are a business owner because they set up the business. On paper, yes, but in reality, no. You are just an operator who have to focus every day, all your energy on making sure that business makes money.
Right.
Now, in my opinion, if you are looking to advance to business owner by itself without dealing with any of the day-to-day activity, then we have to really work on this work-life balance. That's going to be the most problematic situation I've seen in the last couple of decades, just looking into other people's business and how they perceive them stepping away. There's so many people who just do not want to really, so subconsciously they are like kind of stuck. They rather work the business, but they don't want to be spending 18 hours a day. They don't want to be always on the phone, always got the phone on the hip. They want to take some time apart. Just can't do it because it became a habit to work that business. But in effect, you just took a 9 to 5 and you created a whole new 9 to 5. You know, that doesn't change at all. That doesn't help you. Matter of fact, your stress level probably went up because you took on way more responsibility. So
then you can handle.
Yeah, and now you have to do it because this is all on you. This is your business.
Yep.
In my opinion, I think if we were looking to separate you from the business, you need to start small. So deal with the small tasks, the non-money making activities that if you don't do it for the next 5 days, it doesn't hurt the business. Take that and give it to someone else. Okay. Whether it be a virtual assistant or someone you have in the office. Once you start doing that, stick with that for a few weeks. See how it works, see how that person handles it, then move to more hands-on responsibilities.
Let me stop you real quick. You said virtual assistant. Before we keep going here, explain to the people what a virtual assistant is and the responsibilities and how important that can help you transition from business operator to business owner.
Oh, well, a virtual assistant is great. My first experience with a virtual assistant was when I was doing real estate and needed to help govern over the leads I was getting. So I use VAs more on my construction side now because I need someone to man the phones. But basically, it's an assistant that can work remotely, and that can be whether it's the Philippines, India, or somewhere in the United States, and they can really help you get through your task, and that's the most important function. Nowadays, they're doing a whole lot more. They actually really can like paper push. They can pick up things, you can mail them things, and they will go and work it out for you. Wow. Even with printing, I've seen VAs be able to do a lot of things that you would think a person in the office could do only. Right. But yeah, if you send them the printer, if you send them the equipment they need, they'll handle it for you. So VAs have become commonplace nowadays.
And where can someone find a virtual assistant? Like, is there a certain website? Is there a certain...
Yeah, you can look up DaVinci Virtual.
Okay.
I use them. I've used a number of different websites. I would say just Google virtual assistant, and they usually pop up with the first 5 companies, and top 5, I believe. But DaVinci Virtual, I've used them quite a bit, and because I like the call center, I like to be able to have someone manning the phone 24/7 on certain projects.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you need specified projects, then they can hire out one person or even a team of people to handle the data entries. They actually can edit the book. I've seen it. So yeah, VAs are really cool.
Okay, that's awesome, man. That's good information. So basically, trying to transition from that operator to the actual owner, you suggest just starting small and kind of trying to scale your way up.
Starting small with a VA.
Starting small with as far as just being the business operator to the business owner, starting small to try to make that transition, like as far as the tasks, or
I think it depends on the business. I mean, every company is different, especially when it comes down to the hands-on nature of the owner. If you are looking to like scale back within a year, then we're gonna have to ramp things up. You have to do things pretty quickly. Obviously, that means that your sales is up, that you have a little nest egg for the company, it has some capital to work with, so you can already plan ahead as far as employees, You can plan ahead for an office manager or something like that. Again, it depends on the business and what you require. That's one of the things that I always ask first. You know, what are your objectives? What are your motives for the company? How do you see the company growing within the next couple of years? So I can then back out from there how we can get you to your destination. You know, so usually what I've gotten over the past couple of years has been a person who they semi in, semi out of the organization. They know they want to take a breather because more than likely for the last 20 or so clients of mine, they're up in age. They started this business. They can make money. It's a good service business, and they recognize they want to start taking more time out. So if you want to take more time off, then you really want to have someone to be a supervisor. Take the responsibilities from you, but at the same time, make sure that they're still coming to you for the big stuff, right? So you can still have a sign off a scenario, like sign off on checks, sign off on any development deals type stuff. So if you are a service business, starting small with scaling out of the business is probably preferred. If you're a product line, it kind of depends on the nature of your product line, how fast it moves. All right, because if we're talking about, if I can say an example, if you're doing textiles, then you can't really scale out. You're gonna have to make a sudden shift of training like 5 people at the same time. They all need to be trained on different levels of the business, because you know, a production line with a product, you know, you got the whole introduction, whether it's 3D printing, that leads to the design element. Then we have the finalization, the approval before it's packaged and shipped to the client, right? So you got a lot of levels of production that needs to be in order before you can say, well, I'm gonna hand over the keys to somebody, because one issue, one letter out of place, and your contract's gone. That means your business is dead in the water. So that's a slow moving scaling out effect.
So it's gonna require a lot of trust.
Well, both sides. It requires so much trust, and that's a scary part. And that's one reason why a lot of companies don't do it. They tend to just do what they do. If the company falls to the wayside, they consider us small business. So if that is the case, then they don't think we measure up to, you know, the Targets and the Walmarts out here, and they're completely wrong.
Now, can you use, let's say, for example, your service business to invest in other things like real estate? Okay. Now, so what's the process of doing something like that?
Well, first of all, an entity can always own a piece of real property right out the gate. It doesn't matter what it is. What it can do with that real property, that kind of depends on the nature or the industry that it's associated with, right? So don't get me wrong. Again, an entity can pretty much do anything, right? But this is where you get your attorney in place. I always say have a support team that generally consists of the attorney, the CPA, and again, it starts to get customized depending on the business that you're in. But you got to at least start with them, because you go to them first to determine your next big investment and the legality of it all. You need to know what are your limitations. You know, what direction you can go in. You know, you inform them of what you're considering doing, and they say yes or no.
Right. Yeah.
You might not want to do that. However, you know, my CPA does not tell me no. My CPA tells me this is how we can do it.
Okay.
And if you don't have a CPA to tell you such things like that, then you need to find another one.
An advisory CPA.
Exactly.
Yes.
There we go. Because, you know, that's the most important aspect of your business, is how to keep your money.
Right.
You know, and it's not so much, you know, that you got to make $3 million. No, you can do pretty well off a $750,000 company. You take in a $200,000 salary, you know. Too often the owners want to take all the money out the company. But the company also has to breathe. It has to survive too. You know, especially if you have employees. If you got employees and you didn't put away any money for next year, you dead in the water. Should anything happen, aka COVID.
COVID, perfect example.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we at a crossroads with you know, businesses and growing, because as we've seen this past year, a number of companies have survived and done great. But also a number of companies have boarded up their windows and doors, and we ain't probably never gonna hear from them again.
Yeah, sad, man.
Yeah, just because they were not liquid enough. You know, they didn't have their margins spread out enough. It was too tight.
I mean, a lot of them, especially let's say, for instance, like the restaurant businesses, they had some rainy day funds, and a lot of times they were told they had to do certain things to stay in business, i.e., building some sort of outdoor
barriers.
Yeah, some outdoor places to eat, and then when they do that, then they ultimately turn, okay, you can do that, but you have to shut down at this time, or we're going to shut everything down. So now they spent all their money building this little makeshift outside patio area, and then they're told to shut the doors down. So now they're like, and they're still not receiving anything from the government, a lot of them. So it's tough, man. I don't know, man. We'll see, because like you said, a lot of companies were able to survive, and I don't know if that's attributed to them having money set aside, or is that just the nature of their business?
Well, I don't know even if they had enough money set aside for a normal situation, if that was enough, because this was not normal. We're talking about going on over a year.
Yep.
Right. No business should be expected to survive over a year with your reserves. It doesn't compute. So now I think that's why the government is starting to understand, at least Republicans, I should say, and they're saying, okay, well, let's go ahead and give them another round of stimulus, because you're going too long. No company can survive on just, a handful of people coming in at a time, or limited staff. It just doesn't compute. So we got to be able to look at it from a wider lens and say, hey, each company is different, yes, but I think we have a common problem that, they're going to need some assistance. There's more than just, one-time round of, whatever the amount is. So again, I do, applaud the government for even attempting to assist these companies, because they do have specific language in the bills for restaurants and farmers. I think that does pretty well for us right now.
Yeah, we'll see if that actually helps, or if people squander off the money. I mean, we'll see. Businesses also can obtain credit, and that's a very key tool in building some sort of foundation long term for the business. Is there a limit or a cap on how much credit a business can obtain in a year?
No, there's no limit. However, there's going to be a number of limitations that will jump up just because they're going to look at you personally. And if you're trying to get a lot of credit really fast, don't expect them to not look at you. A business can get credit on its own, number one. However, it's easier to just go ahead and let them view the owner, and then get credit worthiness based on what the owner is capable of doing. So once that credit is established, they get some references on their business credit reports. Then after that, they can say, I can start getting credit on its own. If you go what they say the old school method, which is getting a payday score of 80, you can get a number of references on your Dun & Brad. That's normally the vendor credit scenario. If you go that route, you can get a lot more credit. Nowadays, people are skipping that for some reason, and they're jumping right to the fintech companies, which is the financial institutions who are offering credit to actually both personal and business. So they're giving a lot of credit to those who have good cash flow. So your company do have to operate in order for you to receive any type of credit from a fintech lender, but at the same time, it's easier to get. So you literally can get $50,000 to $100,000 and only be making $7,000, $8,000 cash flow coming through that company.
What's the difference between like a fintech company and the banks?
Well, a big bank is, we call them the existing financial institutions. Their requirements are different. The whole purpose of the fintech revolution, as I call it, is they do not look at your credit. They don't even care for it. Some of them are starting to do a soft pull just to say they did it and to verify who you are. But majority of the fintech companies don't even look at your personal credit. They don't even look at the business credit. They're looking at just strictly cash flow and giving you credit based off of that.
Yeah, I think I went to a bank recently, and their question was, or what they informed me, that they lend on, I think 10%. I think that's their cap of what your company generates within a year.
Right.
So if your company doesn't make a lot of money,
Don't expect to get anything.
Don't expect to get a lot of money from certain banks.
And even then, they're still looking at your personal credit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which limits yet again. Yeah. So I think in this case, it's just a matter of what direction you're trying to go in. Any person looking to start a business, I recommend getting credit first. Review your personal credit, see where you are, and if you need improvement there's avenues to get that remedy. And then once that score is up above a certain number, like above 680 at the minimum, I suggest, then you can go and get a American Express Gold on your business and then start building a reference from there. If you are looking to get credit faster, then of course go to a fintech lender and get credit right away. But again, your company has to be working. You have to have some cash flow coming through.
I think one of the things that you taught me was, don't try to go obtain capital when you really need the money.
Right.
Try to go get it when you're kind of in a good space financially. That way, your credit utilization isn't at a certain number, and you can kind of develop options in the event that you're denied at one place.
See, man, I think I say anything on that one. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the most important thing.
But a lot of people don't really understand that concept. They feel like they should go try to apply for some credit or some money when they need it, and it's kind of counterproductive. But
it's so
explain.
counterproductive. First of all, that is the number one thing that I find myself facing with my clients. I have a number of people who said, I just applied and just to see what happened. I said, why would you do that? Why would you set yourself up for failure, number one, when it's so easy to get credit, it's so easy to fix your credit, it's so easy to just be patient and wait for the credit to come to you. Once you have a 700 or above credit score that you can get XYZ because you followed my program. I told you to go and get a number of references. If you're going to go and get a Capital One card, well, there's a form. Citibank, there's a form of hundreds of people who already got that very card. They know their score, and sometimes it does vary, but you look and see what the average is. If they say you need a 720, don't apply if you got a 700.
You said form. Explain to the people what a form is and the importance of starting there to see when you should try to pull the trigger on applying for credit.
Oh, no problem. I have absolute faith in my research. So naturally, I would say always do your homework before you apply for anything. Mm-hmm. Know whether or not they're going to do a soft pull, know which credit bureau they're going to pull from on getting and obtaining the credit, or when they're doing a credit line increase, because it's two different bureaus at time. I know Navy Federal pulls one bureau, I think it's TransUnion, to get the credit card.
Okay.
And then Experian when it's time to evaluate your credit to get a credit line increase. So that's a little tricky right there. But outside of that, when you're doing your research, go to a forum, which is nothing more than I would say it could be a blog, it can be a website dedicated to helping individuals, consumers, navigate through these credit card companies and their interest rates. And I think the number one thing on forums is what they call them things, annual fee. Yeah, annual fee is a big issue on the forums. People don't like cards with annual fees, so you'll see that pop up a lot. Okay. But most importantly, the credit score it takes to get certain credit cards.
Yeah.
Once you go through that, you can easily Google it. It will pop right up, and people will tell you whether or not they got it, had a good experience with it. So you can get a good understanding of how you are to operate in that space long before you go and apply. And that way, when you're ready to apply, you pretty much know you can get it. You are there to get the card.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of like let's say you're going on a vacation, a trip, and you go on Airbnb.
Okay.
You check the reviews before you decide this is the place that I want to choose to stay at. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the same thing with the forums. You kind of go in there, you see what the reviews are, you see what people are saying, what they need. And that's a smart way to kind of ascertain how you should approach, applying for credit. So that's definitely some good information there.
It doesn't stop there though. You need to do the same thing with all facets of working your business,
right?
Working your personal life. A lot of people are always combining getting credit with operating a relationship with the bank. And I say no, they're two different things. You develop a relationship with the bank So then ultimately you can get credit, but that relationship extends a lot further because down the road you can get so many things personally as well as on the business. But again, doing your homework beforehand, which, case in point, not all banks operate with a business product. So they don't offer credit cards on the business. A lot of banks don't do that, but then there's a lot of banks that do. You need to know which ones do before you go applying for an account, because you can't get with so many checking accounts in a year, before you get red flag. If you get red flag, then you're out. Not saying that everybody's going to apply for 10 bank accounts, but if you like me and you're trying to go for credit, you're going to go and see which banks do what, and you're going to apply to those banks. You're going to do what you got to do to qualify, and then you're going to let them season. Then you're going to go back and ask for credit.
Right. Now, season is, explain to the people what that means.
Well, yeah, to have like an account on your credit become seasoned, it just means there's a time lapse that's needed, like 4 months. In most cases, when you get a new account on your credit report, you need to allow about 4 months before it's considered an average account, right? So it kind of fits in with the rest of your profile. Before then, your score is affected negatively in most cases, especially if you're below 700, it's going to affect you negatively. After that, just like an inquiry has to get seasoned. It's about 3 to 4 months as well. So usually it's like 1 to 10 points that you take a hit on when you get a new inquiry on your credit profile. After 4 months, it's no longer affecting you like any. It just sits there for the next 24 months. Maybe about 20 months at that time. So when you go to a bank and you're looking to develop a relationship, same thing applies with your checking account. You have to let it season. You have to have a couple of transactions. You need to let 90 days go by, in most cases for just an account. And that's the most important thing, is not rushing into just going for a lot of credit. You need to know which ones you can apply for at what particular time. And matter of fact, you also need to know what type of limits they offer. Because if you have no credit, you don't need to be applying for a credit card that starts at a minimum of $10,000 limits. You need to get a low limit credit card. And then ultimately, when you think you have a beefed up credit profile, then you go to them, and that could be 1 to 2 years later before you go hit the airline mileage type cards, the ones that they know is going to give you $25,000 limits. Those are the big boys, and we can do something with that. We can do a lot with it. Also, a lot of people pay attention to the APR. I don't pay attention to it because I don't keep a balance, and that's one of the most important things that we tend to get messed up in. I will say, Black people, we have issues with dealing with a loan. I don't consider a credit card a loan. Maybe on paper it is, but no, it's nothing more than a glorified debit card. So I use my credit card like my checking account. My actual checking account, what money is sitting there, goes directly to my credit card. If I don't have money in my checking account, I don't have money in my credit card. Whether that limit is 10,000, 100,000, doesn't matter. So that's the difference.
I'm with you. Don't spend that money on that credit card if you don't have that money in your bank account.
Absolutely.
Do you find it difficult balancing a business while dealing with personal issues, or how can someone that's trying to become an entrepreneur balance business and their personal life?
I'll be honest with you, there is no right answer here.
Yeah.
Because everyone's life and circumstances are different, to the point where it kind of boils down to the psychology of how you deal with frustrations, setbacks, dealing with personal attacks. There's a number of things that will cause any one person to just go left, and next thing you know, they can't operate their business. Their personal life is falling by the wayside. But what I would suggest is identifying that you need help, number one. So if you're at a place where your company is thriving, but your personal life is suffering, then you need to be self-aware of what repercussions, or what role I should say, you play in all of that, the success and the failure. Recognize how we can identify the different sectors of your business being success, get someone to duplicate that, push that to the side, go focus on your personal, because I'm sure there's going to be some counseling involved, or even if it's not even that traumatic or not that severe, then I would say, you need to have more communication, because 9 times out of 10, an entrepreneur is not communicating effectively at home. that's really the case, because you're too bogged down. You over here in the business space, you're talking all day. You're talking about the stuff you enjoy to talk about, of course. When you get home, you're not really so talkative. Matter of fact, it probably sounds like a screeching board, right? And just somebody just, so, at least from a male perspective, I don't know how it is on the other side. But I think if you want a true work-life balance and to have a better understanding of what it means to be there for your family while you also have a successful business, then you got to be able to look at yourself first. You got to see your own psychology and be able to discern your shortcomings and to grow from there.
I mean, I think also probably having a partner that's understanding as well. But yeah, because let's say, for instance, like if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, you're starting off with your 9 to 5, and you're working your full-time job, and then you're trying to start your business. Okay, you start your business,
right,
and you're trying to balance the two. You have stresses at work, you have stresses within your business, and then sometimes there's stresses at home. So it can become a bit overwhelming for a lot of people, and I think having a partner that is understanding of those things,
right,
and what your goals are. Your goal is probably ultimately to remove yourself from that 9 to 5 life. That way you can have more personal time to focus on your business and your family. But just that during that transition, it can become a bit overwhelming for a lot of people.
I think that sounds wonderful.
But
because in real life, what's going to happen is you're going to end up having a person that's frustrated, just like you're frustrated,
right?
And they're frustrated because you're frustrated, and you're not going to see eye to eye because they're at home all day, or they are around the house when you're not, and because you're not, they are frustrated. It's as simple as that. It's just basic human emotion when it comes down to, I know what I need, I know what I'm not getting. It takes a very strong person, and I'm not saying that person don't exist, but it takes a very strong person to be able to identify that your spouse is working hard and doing the very best they can, and I should be patient, right? I still think that person should communicate that they are in need of something, and maybe you can scale back a couple hours a week and come over here so we can at least have a conversation before things get too far gone.
Right.
But again, it takes a very strong person to identify that. Otherwise you're just gonna have a lot of arguments. You're gonna have a lot of back and forth. There's gonna be a lot of misunderstandings, and that's the life of an entrepreneur. Not to sound sad and all crapped out, but I think people always look at the money part and they're not looking at the repercussions of going after the money. All right, there's a lot to building a business. See, we don't really hear too much about the big companies after they done went IPO and they now have $1 billion cap as far as their market capitalization. We tend to see after all that's done. Now they riding in the limousine, they doing good and all that.
Yeah.
But no, they skipped out on quite a few meals. They went hungry. They slept in their cars. A lot of things went not to their liking, I should say, before everything worked out. And we need to see more of the struggle, I believe, in order for those who are looking to get into business can understand that this is going to happen no matter what. The good news is a lot of people who are coming from a job have a leg up more than they realize. Yes, it's stressful. I'm sure you don't like talking to your boss, but at the same time, you get a paycheck. And that's the number one thing that we as entrepreneurs are always dying for. A consistent paycheck.
Yep.
That's big. That is major. Because if I had consistent money coming in about 14 years ago, I would have been in a much different place than I was right now. Just what I'm saying. I had to walk, and I mean walk, before I realized that what I was doing was just wrong. I was just going in the wrong direction. And if I had a job at that time, that would have changed everything for me, because you had money. You had money to go and try again. And I didn't have to go and scrap up money. Just try to figure out where I can get another dollar to go another month.
Yeah.
JOB, is not a bad thing like everyone keep alluding to. I believe you need to work long enough, have a reserve, put yourself in position to be the boss, without ever faltering, without ever, having your company go bankrupt, so you're putting yourself in position for success.
Yeah. I think it's about being smart, also having a lot of patience, because, for me, I wanted to go into real estate, and it took a couple years for me to find my first investment property because I was adamant about not wanting to purchase a single family home. I wanted a multifamily, and I knew that was going to help me, that was going to pay my mortgage for me, and then also it was going to give me space financially to invest in other endeavors, which I have. I now have the short-term vacation rental business that I've started, and I'm trying to grow as well. And I'm going to talk about that a lot more through each show, just so people can see the growth and see that it is attainable, just basically by hearing my story. But basically, back to my point is, like, it takes a lot of patience, and you have to remind yourself daily when you're at that job, like, okay, I have a purpose, I have a goal, and in order for me to attain that goal, I have to stay focused, not allow the daily stresses of the job to kind of, alter my perception of what life is, and just kind of, just stay at it. How do you stay organized, like with everything as far as your business? And
I was just having this conversation. I think I'm a little OCD when it comes down to organization, business related, I should say, because I recognized early on that if I'm not organized, I'm not going to be profitable.
Okay.
And it really, because time is money. And when you find yourself having files all over the place, you can't get the stuff, you miss opportunities. And it's scary, especially when that was a nice, decent sized check, but for some odd reason, you just couldn't get things in time and they went with someone else instead of you. Man, I shaped up very quick. But I use a number of different softwares. First of all, I have a cloud server that I live by, and I have redundancy as far as my files. I use, my electronic calendars. Those are most important to me because I tend to not move without checking my calendar. Nowadays, I got in the good habit of checking that first. And then from there, like with the virtual assistant I have right now, he's very, very detailed with what assignments I gave him. So when he comes back to me and say, this, and this is done, I can easily go back to my checklist because I have it right on my calendar. Say, okay, cool, let's check it off the list.
Nice,
let's move on to the next. And easily now we can go and make sure we realize profit. So now you can almost put a capitalization on what the likeliness of them making you money or more money for your company. And that's the most important thing about being organized, is so you can see where your money's going.
And then also, I guess, when you're working with a virtual assistant, you can kind of see what they have been able to accomplish working with you, and then you can kind of project what the future goals can be, I guess, in that regard as well.
Oh, I should also add that I've changed VAs a number of times, because not all VAs are created equal.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally there's a trial period, I should say, because they got to get used to you. Yeah. They kind of got to get used to what you offer, so not all of them are a good fit, just like a regular employee.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good to know. So you're saying, obviously staying organized does contribute to success in some way or another. Okay.
Absolutely. And we become a team. And that's the most important thing, because for me, a number of my businesses that I pretty much started by myself. And it ended up being a couple of years of just working by yourself. Now, I still interact with others, but again, when you're talking about your company, on your side, it's just you. And then it wasn't until I got a VA that I realized, like, I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. to just check email. Or I don't have to look over all these documents and I'm gonna scan that in and send that on. Y'all handle that, let me know what I need to do in the morning.
Nice.
And you have a team that you develop, because again, remember I mentioned your support team. They're part of your company as well. Whether they are directly associated or they are just facilitating assistance of some sort, they're part. And they help, trust me. There's been a number of real estate deals where I've always had to rely on my real estate attorney just to be a go-between. It wasn't the settlement attorney, nothing like that. It's your own personal attorney, someone that you can call and say, hey, I got you on retainer, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. I need to know because I don't trust what I'm seeing. And they say, well, let me see. And then they say, you're right, we need to make a change here and here. And then you come back to the table and you go back to negotiating. But that only happened because I had my own support person, right? That wouldn't happen. Otherwise, you'd be stuck there having to make a decision on the spot because you're right there at the settlement table. And then you probably would be out of money that you wouldn't recognize until a month later.
Right. Okay. I mean, one piece of advice I would give people as well, this may not always work, but you can also do calls to attorneys at their offices and ask questions and kind of phrase it in a way where you're just trying to get information, but it doesn't really pertain to you.
I see what you're saying. That's right.
And, you know, if they're having a good day, they will answer the question for you, and it's not something that you have to come out of pocket for. So
I've done that.
Yeah, you know, I've definitely done it. So it's just something, like I said, it's not something that's going to always work,
right?
But it's also something that, you know, you can try to attempt to do when you need some questions asked, when you want to speak to someone who has knowledge in whatever it is that you're trying to seek.
Yeah, and truth be told, if you develop a relationship with them, more than likely they're going to pretty much answer any one of your questions anyway. Yeah. You know, then you break them off a little something later on. You know?
Yep. So speaking of real estate, how do you scale into buying more properties in a year after you start with your first one? So is it leveraging your business credit, leveraging your own personal credit? How do you scale into acquiring more properties?
Well, it's all of the above there, but there is a method that I suggest because you need to go the route that's less traveled. Right now, you know, if you went conventionally and got a mortgage, you're going to find yourself stuck between getting that next mortgage because it requires a lot. It requires a down payment. It requires everybody to be on the same page. And, you know, depending on your day job or other income source, you may or may not be able to do that in a year. You might need to take a little longer to develop that deposit. You need to start thinking unconventionally, number one. All right. If you weren't already preparing for this real estate investing business, like establishing a company 2 years ago, building the business credit, all that, then you're going to find yourself yet again stuck with trying to get to that next set of properties.
You said thinking unconventionally. What are some examples of that?
Well, I would suggest controlling a property without actually owning it. All right, that would be the easiest route to take. Find a distressed property, or should I say in this case, a distressed seller, and provide a win-win situation. Control the property, get that place rented out or flipped if that's what you're doing, where you can start getting a cash flow or a lump sum. Take that money, move it over to a next property via 1031 exchange, 1033 exchange, I believe that's what's called. And then you can make sure that you are leveraging the amount of money that you're receiving so you can double that. That's number one. And from that point on, acquire the property, do the exact same thing again. And I think you can do this quite a bit in a year because there's a lot of deals available even today. Most people don't think so, but there's a lot of properties that are sitting in limbo, needing some type of relief. These sellers are just sweating bullets, waiting for the government to say, okay, moratorium is up, you know. And again, those are the deals that you don't want to buy right now. You just want to control. So you work out a situation, you provide relief to the seller, they move out, you then take over the property and you do what you got to do to get an income.
And providing relief, that could be what, paying off their taxes?
Absolutely, paying off your taxes or the arrears of the mortgage that they missed payments on.
Okay.
It could be a family situation because it could have been a probate deal that all of a sudden just went awry. I just seen that recently, and there's a number of different things that a seller could be going through that you could, if it's in your budget, you could provide a relief to, and then work out an agreement. You know, have a contract written in such a way where you're allowed to assign the contract to where you don't even deal with the property itself. You just sell the contract. There's a number of different things you can do to get the income you need to start buying property after that first deal.
Now, assigning the contracts, that's kind of is that kind of like wholesaling? And is wholesaling dead?
Wholesaling is not dead. However, you know, people have been preaching this thing, saying wholesaling is the next thing, you know, to investing. You can do a lot with wholesaling. I do not agree. I think wholesaling is one of many ways, of course, you can do a transaction. It's still valid, yes, but it sucks. Okay, it sucks because so many people are using it as a leading source of investing in real estate, to the point where it pretty much messes up a whole area. So you find yourself not being able to do it in certain areas, and then other areas you can't do it. They're just far in between. So we do not mess with wholesaling. However, I've done a number of different wholesale deals, but it wasn't because it was intentionally a wholesale deal. It usually is because I don't have at the time the funds to renovate the property to the next level, because I'm already working on some other properties. My investors wanted to just focus on another different thing or whatever. I had a number of reasons why it ended up being a wholesale deal. You still want to make some money out of the transaction, so you get another investor involved and you do an A to B BDC closing.
Yeah, it's funny, like you said, these real estate gurus, and they come on their platforms and they tell people like, this is how I made millions off of wholesaling. And what they don't really tell you is that method is not going to work in every market. So you sell these dreams to people and they get out there and they attempt to do it, and then they find themselves going months without even securing the contract, or worst case scenario, they secure a contract and they can't find a buyer.
Right. So
they're kind of like stuck with the deal, and then they find themselves in a whole lot more trouble. But I personally, I tried. I made an attempt at wholesaling years and years ago, but it's just interesting to see that people are still promoting that as some sort of lead investment strategy when it comes to real estate.
I just heard an infomercial the other day talking about wholesaling. It's like, no, man, no, not here. You put your marketing bucks somewhere else, 'cause that's not gonna work here.
Yeah, it's so many different ways to go at real estate, and I just think like wholesaling should probably be last on your.
Like I said, it does work. It happens. I've done it, so I definitely know it still exists to a degree. But there's a number of different apps you can use to help find more deals. And by finding more deals, it's bound to happen where you can negotiate a wholesale transaction. It's bound to happen. But in most cases, more investors are looking to acquire property to hold because of the nature of what we're in with this COVID season. They recognize the mortgage rates are really low, so everybody's trying to jump on it as much as possible. They're not really looking into flipping a contract. Right, and even though that's one of the leading ways that you can make money in real estate, as we were told, reality is very few people are doing it. It's a numbers game, and you have to go through quite a bit to find that one or two properties who will allow you to wholesale a deal. Now, if you're in Florida back in the day, that was happening every single day. I know people that they was getting it, and I've heard of anybody doing it lately. Everybody has kind of shifted towards bigger investments. We talking about $500,000 homes now, where they're far in between, but they're more profitable. So it evens out for them.
Okay. So there's different ways to obtain capital outside of going to the banks. What is private money, and why is it important to find a private money lender?
Well, it can be lenders, or it can be a group of people who just so happen to have a lot of expendable cash, and they don't want to really partake in the day-to-day situation of working an investment deal. So they're saying, you take it, you manage it, and we will expect a return, right? So a private lender could be one of those people, or could be a company acting as a private lender. You have to be careful with that, though, because some of them do have hard money tendencies, and that's a little trickery, which I do not understand whatsoever. But the purpose of a private lender, number one, is to give you better terms, right? They recognize that hard money lending is kind of shark-like. They coming after your pocket, and they know that no matter what, they're going to get a deal. They're going to be able to make a return on that money. However, it's risky because they're giving it to you without any qualification whatsoever. So they're giving you all these points, they're charging you points, and they're charging you interest, high interest rate. They're charging interest only payment that they're expecting. It's a number of different things that I've seen so far. I haven't used a hard money lender in years now just because of that very premise. But I think that when you go private money, it's just so simplistic. We're talking about a simple interest rate, maybe 12%, no points. More than likely, you may or may not have a monthly payment. In my case, you don't have a monthly payment because that's what I negotiate. And every time you do a deal, they are trusting you more and more. And now they're lending more and more. So that's one thing that I found to be more up my alley, because when you find the deal, sometimes it might be 3-4 months between deals. Well, I've had it where when I went hard money, their money wasn't available. So because I waited too long, now I missed out on the opportunity.
Lost the deal.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait a minute, it took me that long to find the deal. I needed you to pledge that money to me so I can have that to rely on. I can't keep having these open-ended situations where I get one thing and I lose the other. So that's where it really prompted me to start looking for my own private investors and say, hey, I'm going to compile my own little group and we're going to make it work.
What are some examples of a private money lender? So for the people out there.
Example?
Like, could it be a doctor at their job? Could it be?
Oh yeah, it can be your mom.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be your mom, someone who has a 401k that they can borrow against, and you can take that money. It can be a self-directed IRA where that money can go directly to a real estate, and you have to provide a return. So it could be a modest interest rate. It could be anything. That simple terms, as I call it. That's the difference between private and hard money. It's just simplicity.
And what's a hard money lender, and why you choose to stay away from them?
And it's not so much I choose to stay away. I need you to come to where I am. See, I'm 68 deals in, at this time. So it's not a lot, but it's enough for me to say I have experience. So on that note, I don't want you giving me newbie terms, and they're always trying to push newbie terms because it's the highest interest rate. It's the most points. It's ridiculous. And then they recently I've looked up, I think it was Do Hard Money. They were giving me limited timeline as to when they need that money back. So I'm like, very well how long it takes for me to take a property, fix it up, and then sell it. Not just put it on the market, but sell it. We talk about 7 months.
I was gonna say, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
4 to 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, well, four if you lucky.
Right.
Every flip deal I have done, it has always lagged for one reason or the other, maybe by 3-4 weeks, always.
Okay.
Yeah, whether we changed up something in the kitchen or the master bedroom, or whether just something went wrong with a unforeseen situation and we had to work it out, it always lagged. Therefore, pushes the window down a little further, and now it's costing you more money, which means you get less profit in the end. That I do not like.
Yeah, you get those unforeseen costs.
Yeah, because when you go looking at a property, you don't really see what's behind that wall. You don't know that there's termite damage throughout that whole structure, and that whole wall has to come down. You don't know if there's a crack in the basement foundation when it's covered with, some type of mesh or fiberglass of some sort. There's a number of things that I've always got it seared in my brain. Just, I wish I just saw that earlier. I would have definitely hit the bank up for $5,000 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now with COVID-19, can we really buy investments in 2021? Is it still around with COVID-19 still being around? Will it be more difficult to buy investments, or should we look at this as an opportunity based on a lot of people potentially losing their homes? A lot of homes are going to be in distress. What's your take on that?
Wow, it's so unfortunate for homeowners to be in distress, to be suffering, as we all have had some degree of suffering dealing with COVID. I do believe there is opportunity. Where there is failure, there is success. Where there is low prices, there is a lot of uphill mobility, because when you're buying low, you tend to buy a lot, and you tend to ride the wave. Now, I'm not saying we at a low point in real estate. We're really not. We kind of inflated, if you will, and we're probably going to stay that way because of what the government has done thus far. But I do believe 2021 is the year to be taking the opportunity for what it is.
Okay.
Jumping in, get it going right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now is the time to try to invest and find deals.
Well, the thing is, it's more than that. It's more than real estate. COVID has produced a number of opportunities in stocks, in real estate market, in just business in general. There's a number of businesses that are available. All right. If we're going to be investors, entrepreneurs, not everybody has that product or service in mind. They don't know how to create one. Well, there's a number of companies that are for sale. Business credit can buy that as well. There's a number of opportunities that's available right now. There's a company I just researched that was for sale for $75,000, and they are a cleaning service. They have all the equipment. They have the van that come along with it. It's Virginia.
Wow. So their business is up for sale at this present moment.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen a lot of opportunities come out of this pandemic, and you have to be smart. You have to do your research, and you have to be driven, and it has to be something that you really want to do. And like I said, you just have to educate yourself, because a lot of people jump into, I just want to be a business owner, I want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't really educate themselves on what it takes and the actual business that they want to be in.
I look at it like this. If you are in school and you knew you gotta study for a test, you knew hands down you just wasn't prepared, you gotta study, you're gonna put in that time. You're gonna make sure you know the material forwards and backwards. When you go take that test, you're gonna take that test with your chest all beating out because you're ready. I got it.
Yep.
Why would you go into business like this, hunched over? Because you know you weren't ready. You did not do your homework. You did not prepare. And too often the time I've seen people just go into this thing, half at it. They're not paying attention. They're skipping stuff. They're not consistent. There's a lot of things that's lacking. Then they come to me and say, help. I'm like, well, I don't know if you can afford what I'm about to charge you, because I recognize what's going on here, and it's going to take a lot to get you out of this hole.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to do that. I don't want you to come to me needing that type of help. I want you to come to me saying, let's take you to the next level, because you already did what you should have done, to get you this far. And I think we're at a time where people have seen a lot of profits without doing much. So it's given a false understanding of how business is to work, how investments are to work. And I think that's not going to look too good for 2022, actually, because, with your Bitcoin jumping up as high as it has, I know mine is ridiculous, but I recognize how it came about. So I'm not going to say, oh man, I did this, pat myself on the back. No, I'm going to look at it and say, well, I think I'm going to take more out of this, because I don't trust you. It jumped up way too quickly. I'm not used to that. And the same thing go for a number of the companies I invested in stock. When they started going and climbing back in March, I was like, okay, I think I need to research what's going on, because I wasn't paying attention. I was off looking at Forex. I'm off looking at a number of other opportunities. And then next thing you know, you start getting alerts popping up saying your stock is jumping up 10% today. The next day, 20%.
Wow.
42%. I'm like, these are long-term plays. I don't expect them to move but 5%, and they're jumping up. So that's a false understanding of investing. Now you got so many people saying, oh yeah, I invested in such and such. I got 50% return. Yeah, take your money out. Take it out right now, because if you don't know how to manage that when everything come back to normal, you're going to lose that. And then now you're going to be so depressed and think that you did something wrong.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Now, you're a business consultant. So when someone approaches you, is there a certain level or certain tools that they need to have to make you feel comfortable taking them on as a client?
Yeah, I've passed on quite a few clients last year, because there has to be a general understanding of what it takes for you, the owner, to grow your business. And if you come to me saying, hey, you do it, I'm gonna look at you crazy, because I'm not taking on more responsibility. I have 4 companies I'm running. I don't have no room for anything extra for a modest fee. That's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna have to take all your salary, in order to do that. And I don't want to do that. I want you to be successful. I want you to grow. And generally, a lot of people don't want to do that. They're really good at showing what they don't want to do. They're so bad at really saying what I need to do, because they didn't take the time to recognize what that need is. They just saying, well, what do you think I should do? And I'm gonna tell you, you're just not gonna like it.
Right.
Because oftentimes it's gonna require a lot more work. It's gonna require a lot more away from the family, because you did not do what you should have done 2 years ago when you first started your company. And now we're at a place where we got to pretty much start from scratch, work it all the way up from the beginning again, get you organized, get you structured, get you in position so the bank can look at you and say, oh, you a company I want to invest in.
Okay.
You know, I've seen a lot of companies do not do that. I mean, I'm gonna leave that alone.
You had people present their business to you and it wasn't structured properly.
Number one, the entity is not the right one. But they said someone told them to set it up in that way. I said, was that someone, a CPA, attorney, a tax attorney? Who was it? No, I just
a friend.
Exactly. You know, somebody who's close to me. I'm like, see, we can't go off of friendship because that's gonna be the first to die when you realize you can't make money. You know, you're gonna be saying you did this and did that. No, we're not gonna do that. What we need to do is take a time to look over all of your ideas for the company, then back it out and say, well, based on that understanding, what type of entity should I structure this in? Then go to your support team and say, do you concur? Do you agree? And if they agree, then we go and move forward. See, a lot of times with our idea, we think it's so small, it's not worth having a dialogue over. It's not worth developing a support group to help you make it grow, number one. So then you find yourself half doing it. You went ahead and got your domain name. You got a little 2-page website, landing page maybe, and then that's where it stops. You maybe got some business cards, but everything is off. Branding is off. Nothing is coordinated. Nothing is working. And then on top of that, the number one thing that every company I've ever dealt with in the beginning is marketing. No one markets like they should. Every last company I've ever done with. And I'm up to about 500 and some odd at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are they doing incorrectly when it comes to marketing?
Nothing. No, I'm not lying. I'm being dead serious. They don't know where to go. They refuse to put out any money. Everybody thinks they can do something for free. You know, and they're like, well, can I just go and put it in a directory and put my number out there and people call? I say, well, how are they going to see you? I'm like, yeah, you might get 1 or 2 calls because I'm in construction. So naturally, I get calls. People do call, but only after I got in Yelp, Angie's List. You know, now and there, if for some reason it pushed up my directory on the search engine so people can see me. Okay. But before then, I was just lost. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's astounding as to why people think their company should be making money when they don't do the steps necessary to get it in position to make money.
They don't invest in their business.
Oh my God, there it is. That's it. See, that was missing. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to lead into that.
It takes money. It takes risk.
Yeah, it takes money to make money.
Yeah, it's true. You know, a lot of people don't like to hear that. They, like you said, they think that they can just get it done for the free 99, and that's not going to help grow your business. You have to invest in your business if you want it to grow to a certain level.
I equate it to this. If you're going to put out $300, expect a $10,000 return. All right, and that kind of depends on what industry you're in. But if we stick with construction, I have a good return on my investment, by the way. So if you put out 300, expect about 10 total, right? If you put out about 1,200, expect your return to be upwards of 25, 26,000, right? And it just goes up from there. We talk about marketing because when I market for direct leads. That means I'm only paying for the leads that really want what I'm offering, right? Okay. So now I have to go and sell on that. I have to convert that lead to an actual sale, and the conversion rate is high.
So what websites or platforms do you use for direct leads?
Well, at this point, I'm using specific like service things like painting. I go to a painting service lead company. They it's 2 of them actually. They charge $35 to $40 per lead, and it's like you might spend $300 and you might get 2 leads, but those 2 leads for me net about 17,000.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, because again, we're talking about if you in a certain targeted area where big houses, it costs a lot of money to paint.
So let's say if someone has like a window tinting company, someone has a car detailing company, so they should put their money into direct leads just specifically for that type of business?
Well, not all industries have direct leads available. What you have to then do is say, if I'm doing window tinting, I would need to be wherever there's a car wash, right? Because there's an association of, you know, cleaning your car and then seeing someone with tinted windows for some reason, and then you will then market your website. Well, that would be a key word.
Right.
So if you have like certain ads going out there, so instead of getting direct leads, because they might not be for like window tinting, you have to then find a correlation. And you know, if people looking at car washes, they're looking at fixing up their car, they want to see, let's say we put YouTube in the space. You can have an ad for those who love looking at car shows. Well, window tinting right there, right in your face. If you're going to do a paid ad, well, you know, paid ads are right at the top of a Google on a search page, right? So they're normally between 1 and 4 right there in your face before those who did organic ranking even show up. You got a paid ad right there. So I would say put a paid ad first.
Okay. I mean, I want to just kind of touch on it really quickly. But again, like I said, we want to eventually show people how to do these things. But we just want to put it out there that these things are available to you. And then ultimately, we're going to, you know, try to show you what steps you need to take to get an ad on YouTube or, you know, to get these direct leads for your company. Because that's ultimately my goal. Like, I want to kind of empower people, especially those that are serious. You know, we want to have some sort of platform where we can do some Q&As with people and just speak to the people directly. Also with this link, you know, there's going to be a comment section once this video posts where people can, you know, ask questions and we're going to respond to you directly. But yeah, man, I think this has been a very good conversation that we had regarding business. We definitely want to continue this. I want to ultimately bring you on if you will be, you know, welcome to that, you know, coming on the show, you know, periodically.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, we can, like I said, continue to help people, help empower people and inspire them on their business endeavors. But again, you know, you have to be serious about this. This is something that you really have given a lot of time and thought to, and you made the sacrifices to, you know, want to kind of be successful. So
absolutely. I think your audience will definitely be deserving. You know, I'm sure they will reach out and tell you what you, pretty much tell you what they want to hear. You know, you just got to listen. And I know those who are really serious about opening up a business, they will have millions of questions. And we want to be right there to help. I have no problem. I'll be right here with you.
Right. Yeah, we definitely want to help. So if you are serious about, you know, starting a business, or you have a business and you're kind of struggling right now because you just don't know where to go or what questions to ask, we are going to definitely be here and to try to provide that information to y'all. So I want to say thank you again for coming on the show, man. And I definitely want to kind of keep you as a resident host with the show. So thank you all for listening. And I encourage you all to tune in, continue to stay posted. We have a lot more in store for you. Where can the people find you on as far as if they wanted to get some one-on-one business consultant or wanted to hire you personally?
I would say the easiest place to find me right now is on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Take 2 Capital, TAKE, the number 2 and capital. That's the easy way to find me, and we can have a dialogue. I can give you a little bit of advice right out the blue. I'm not afraid to answer any of your questions, so you can hit me up there. Okay,
so you heard it first. If you want to speak to the man, Ciolis, he's definitely here to help. You know where to find him, and ultimately you can just continue to stay tuned into the show, and appreciate all the support and love that we've been receiving up until this point. So thanks again, and until the next episode, peace. All right, so we still got some time.
How much time we got?
About 15 minutes.
Hey, I think we should do some snippets.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't stand that. I kept moving because it was like, yeah, I ain't used to that.
Snippets for recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
For recording. I think we should do a couple of snippets, and that way you can edit it later. And once we do the actual video, you can do a couple of snippets after you start building a little bit of people actually going to the YouTube. Then you can start releasing those snippets, and we can kind of just have it it's like a commercial that you're putting out there. Yeah, people are doing that a lot now on YouTube.